Hello children, welcome to Grade Booster. So there is a small glitch and delay for the live session. So how are you all? And I see some children in the chat box. Durga Devi, hi, hello, Nandakishore, hello, good evening. So today our lesson is how do organisms reproduce children. So this is a very important lesson from class 10 biology. And along with this lesson, we have one more lesson, that is heredity. Both are interconnected. In this lesson, we are going to learn about the variations. So again, in heredity lesson, we are going to learn about variations in detail. Right? There is a connection between these two lessons. These two are interconnected. Okay. So just a minute. Right, children? So, who is there watching heredity? Yes, definitely I will make heredity also. Hi students. Yeah. So, heredity also we will do it after this, and in today's session we are going to discuss about what is the importance of the reproduction, why this process is important, okay, and what are the different types of reproduction, and what are the different methods of reproduction, different modes of reproduction in plants as well as in animals, right. So in this particular session we are going to discuss about the reproduction. In asexual reproduction we are going to discuss about asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction in plants, right, and human reproduction we will discuss in the next session. So let us begin the first part here. The first topic of this session is why do organisms reproduce? This is important point, that is the introductory part. Why do organisms reproduce? So reproduction, can we call it as a life processes? We studied about life processes, we studied about nutrition, respiration, transportation, excretion, right. Then why didn't we keep this reproduction part in life processes? Is it an important life process? Yes, it is a life process. It is important, but it's not essential for individual survival. This life process is not essential for individual survival, but it is essential for the existence of a species, for a species to exist. Now we see some species became extinct. In heredity, in evolution we study that extinction, okay. Woolly mammoth, it extincted. Dodos extincted, and saber-toothed tigers extincted. That means when some animals are not able to reproduce, they will extinct. That means the species will end over there. Now we see animals like dogs around us, cats around us. So how these dogs are existing? Because they are capable of reproducing. Since they are reproducing, they are existing. Their species is surviving. Okay. So reproduction is not essential for individual survival, but for the species survival, reproduction is important. Right. So it uses energy but ensures the continuation of similar kinds of organs. It uses energy, right children, but it ensures the continuation of similar kind of organisms. Reproduction requires energy, but it ensures that organism continues its species, right. So in reproduction, the young ones look like their parents. Yes, cat looks like a cat, not like a dog. Dog looks like a dog. Of course, the baby and the mother, baby and the parent may have little differences, but they are alike. Their features are alike, most of their features, right. So organisms of the same species look similar because they share the same body design, blueprint. So reproduction creates new individuals which are similar to parents. Here I am telling similar to parents, not exactly like a parent. right? Similar to parents. Baby cat, kitten look like a cat, right? Puppy look like a dog, right? Puppy doesn't look like an elephant. So offsprings are similar to the parents. Next, do organisms create exact copies of themselves? Do organisms create exact copies? Exact. You have taken your book to Xerox shop and you have asked the person to take a Xerox. He will put it in the photocopy machine and he will take the copy. If you see both the original and the copy, both of them will have the same text. The words are not changed, the letters are not changed. Do the spellings of the copy change? Will there be any spelling mistakes in the copy, photocopy? Yes or no? So will there be any spelling mistakes in the photocopy? You have given a book to a Xerox machine, a photocopy machine. So you got a copy. Will there be any spelling mistakes? Can anyone answer? Anyone answer? No. No, yes. Akshita Das. No. Anish. So your state, yes, my state is Andhra Pradesh. Rajamandri, that you can get it from Google Maps. So the question is if you have given one book, one paper to photocopying, that is Xerox machine, and if you ask to take a Xerox copy of it, so whatever the original you have given, the same spellings will be there in the copy also. Will there be any difference in the spellings? Yes or no? No, no, no. Okay. But in case of reproduction, we are talking that children are copies of the parents. But these copies are not exactly like parent. Okay? Not exactly like parent. We may be similar or look like our parents, but we are not exactly a copy of our parents. This point you have to remember. So, do organisms create exact copies of themselves? The answer is no. Okay, the answer is no. DNA carries the information. DNA carries the information about our body design. But during reproduction, the DNA is copied. The DNA is copied. But during this copying, there will be some errors. There will be some errors, changes in the DNA, minor. Okay. If there are so many changes in the DNA while copying, the newborn baby will not survive. The offsprings will not survive. Major errors. Okay. Major errors may kill the new cell, new organism. But very little changes will be there in DNA copying. Here in the picture you can see, so if the DNA is exactly copied, this is the original. But while formation of the DNA, there will be some changes. So these changes are called variations. What are there? Variations. So during reproduction, parent to children, the DNA is transferred, but the DNA is not exactly copied, not as it is copied. There is some change in the new copy, that is called variations. So variations, small, very little changes, not big changes. Okay. So this variation in DNA copying is the basis of evolution. It is the main thing for the evolution. These many species have come out. It's all because of the variations. Of course, variations, we cannot completely say that variations are always helpful for the organisms. But variations, in many cases, they help the organisms to survive better in the new environmental changes, whatever the environmental changes come. Right? Let's next. So we have seen about variations. So we'll learn more about variations in evolution, heredity lesson. So there we'll learn about variations, right? So variations help the organisms in their survival. Here we are learning that point, variations help the organisms in their survival, right? Sir, variations, means difference. Yes, due to the variations, evolution takes place. So P. Asha, hi sir, I'm your new student. Okay. So right children, so that is about variations. Okay, variations means changes, differences in the DNA. Okay, from the parent DNA. These are the variations. Now, let us see mode of reproduction used by single-celled organisms. Now, reproduction is of two types: sexual reproduction, asexual reproduction. Right? So, in sexual reproduction, two organisms are required for reproduction. Two organisms: a mother organism, father organism. Mother and father are required. Humans, mother and father are required for reproduction, producing babies. But in some organisms, only one organism is enough for reproduction, that is single organism. Only one organism. Okay? So that kind of reproduction is called as asexual reproduction. Asexual. Okay? So we'll see what is sexual reproduction, then we'll understand. So this asexual means only one organism, it can produce young ones. Right? So there are so many methods in this asexual reproduction: fission, budding, regeneration, fragmentation, spore formation, vegetative propagation. All these are the different methods of asexual reproduction. So the first one we are seeing, that is the fission. Fission means splitting. Fission means splitting. Right? Sir, why we need reproduction? Harish. So Harish is having a question, why do we need reproduction? Because to continue the species. So how can you keep your DNA continuing the species? For example, we all have some time to live, some lifespan. After completing the lifespan, what happens? The person expires. But if reproduction is there, if an organism is able to produce an young one, the species continues. The DNA, it continues its saga. The DNA is keep on going, right? So in the form of babies. So that is the reason we need reproduction. If there is no reproduction, the species ends there. Either it is sexual reproduction or asexual reproduction. Children, I am going to tell you one interesting fact here. In animals, you know, sexual reproduction takes place. Mother and father, male organism, female organism must be there. Right? But in some cases, in some animals, like hammerhead sharks, some kind of sharks, buttonhead, okay, sharks. In some species, parthenogenesis takes place. That means without the male organism, the female can produce babies. Right? So even that also happens. So there are so many wonders in nature. Right? So usually in animals, sexual reproduction is required. In some rare cases, in some sort of sharks, in some sort of animals, it happens. Right? So a single organism can produce young ones. What are the examples? The first one is fission. Fission. Right? So in fission, unicellular organisms, they reproduce. Fission means splitting. Right? So some organisms, one single organism splits into two. That is called as binary fission. Here we can see amoeba is splitting into two. One parent cell splits into two daughter cells. Here, one more binary fission in Leishmania. One parent cell, this is the one parent cell, splits into two daughter cells. Both are binary fission. Is there any difference between these two things? Can anyone notice the difference here? Any students watching live, can you answer? What is the difference between these two? Both are binary fission. Do you find any difference? Right? So no one is responding here. Yeah. So the difference is in amoeba, if you see amoeba, yes, Leishmania only split longitudinally. Very good. Who is that? It is Saranya. Saranya. Yes. So you see the difference. Leishmania, it has got a symmetry, body symmetry, right? It cannot split in this direction. It can split only in this direction, longitudinal direction, because it has got a longitudinal body symmetry. Whereas amoeba is not having any specific symmetry, it is not having a specific shape, right? It's not having a specific shape. So amoeba, it can split in this direction or in this direction or in this direction. But this organism, it is having a proper symmetry. See, our body, we have a symmetry? Yes, left bilateral symmetry. Okay. So if you wanted to make the body into two equal parts, if you wanted to draw a line, you will be drawing like this, not like this. So if you draw a line like this, both are not equal. If you draw a line like this, both parts are equal. The same way, both are binary fission, but here orientation of the fission, longitudinal orientation, it can be in any direction. Now what is this? Plasmodium. In plasmodium, multiple fission takes place. One cell splits into many cells. You can see the nuclei. The nucleus of this plasmodium splits into so many nuclei and they form new cells and it produces so many cells. One cell splits into many. Binary means one splits into two. Okay. So binary fission example, amoeba leishmania, and multiple fission example, plasmodium. Right, children? Okay. So let us move on to the next slide. Next one, fragmentation. Fragmentation. So what is fragmentation? Here the example is Spirogyra. Spirogyra, green color thread-like filaments we see in water bodies like in water tanks, in lakes and ponds. Spirogyra. So the Spirogyra, it becomes into fragments and each fragment can grow into an individual organism. So naturally it splits because of the water currents, and whenever it grows, it splits naturally. Naturally it reproduces like that. No one is going to cut it. Okay, it is splitting itself into pieces. Each piece is growing into a new organism. This is called as fragmentation. So it happens in simple multicellular organism like Spirogyra is the example. What is the example? Spirogyra. So the body break into fragment, it grow into a new individual, and it works only in simple organisms, not in complex organisms. Big organisms cannot grow like that. Okay. So complex organisms need specialized cells for reproduction. Right, children? So next, regeneration. What is that? Regeneration. So this fission, fragmentation, regeneration, all these are asexual methods. That means reproduction by single organism. So what is regeneration? Regeneration means if an organism, if it loses any part, it can regrow it. If it is having the ability of regrowing, you call it as a regeneration. For example, lizard, typically, if there is a lizard, so lizard, if the lizard lost its tail, it can regrow its tail. That is regeneration. Okay. So if you go higher into the animals, the regeneration capacity is less. So if we lose any of our body part, can we get it back? No, we cannot regenerate, but we can regenerate certain amount of skin. So there is a small tear or small damage to the skin, yes, we can regenerate. Okay, but parts we cannot regenerate, but lizard can regenerate. Starfish. So one arm, if one arm of the starfish is lost, it can regenerate. Right. Here in planaria, here in the textbook we have an example, planaria. Here we have planaria. So the planaria, if it is split into three parts, if it is cut into three parts, each part can grow its body. Okay. So here in this case, one organism is becoming into three organisms. Of course, this is regeneration is not a kind of reproduction. Okay. But you may get a doubt that, sir, you are telling that from three parts, three organisms grow. In the previous case, we have seen fragmentation. The three parts are growing into three organisms. Both are similar. You may get that both may be similar. Regeneration and fragmentation. Yes, did you get that doubt? Both are similar, fragmentation and regeneration. Are they similar or different? Anybody? No, they are not similar. Okay, someone says yes, they are not similar, they are different. Why they are different? Because fragmentation means it naturally splits. Okay, so regeneration happens when accidentally some part is lost. Okay, but anyway, in case of planaria, new 3 organisms are formed. Okay, so regeneration is always a part of fragmentation. Right, children? Okay, so only it happens in this case of planaria. If you take other higher examples like starfish or lizard, even the starfish also, see, even the starfish, only if this arm is lost, this starfish, only one organism, it will grow its arm. But if a starfish is cut like this, if some central part is also cut like this, it got separated like this. So this one will grow into one starfish and this regrow the remaining part and becomes into one more starfish. Right, children? So regeneration is mostly applies to the lost or damaged part is growing again, that is regeneration. Okay, right. But in case of planaria, it is forming different organisms. So in very low level organisms it happens. In higher level organisms only the damaged part is regrows, that is regeneration. So this happens due to specialized cells multiply and form tissues. Okay, so the process involves development of new tissues and organs. Regeneration is different from reproduction. It happens only when cut. Okay, naturally it will not happen, regeneration, only accidentally when there is a cut and when a small part is lost, then. So somebody is asking, please start from the beginning. So already it is 8:43, so I cannot start from the beginning. You can see the replay, right? Somebody is asking, Ismail is asking. Okay, right. So next, budding. Next is budding. This is another method of asexual reproduction. Organisms, they form buds. Examples, it happens in yeast, it happens in hydra. Okay, so what have formed here, this one is called as a small bud. The bud grows in size and it gets separated from the parent organism. Here at the bottom you can see this is the real picture of hydra. Here is the real picture of hydra with bud. Okay, so small bud forms on the parent body. The bud grows and detaches from and forms an individual. This is a common form of reproduction in animals, in plants, that is in simple type of plants and animals, not in higher animals or higher plants, budding. So next, vegetative propagation. So what is vegetative propagation? Usually organisms reproduce with the help of sexual organs. For example, plant. What is the reproductive organ of the plant? Flower. Flower is the reproductive organ, right? But if a plant is able to reproduce with its vegetative parts, what are vegetative parts? Leaf, stem, root, all these are vegetative parts. If a plant is able to reproduce by its vegetative part, you call it as vegetative propagation. There are no gametes, no fertilization. Just for example, there is a rose plant, you cut the branch of the rose plant and put it in the soil. Then the cut piece of the rose grows into a new plant. That is called stem cutting. That means from vegetative parts you can get the new organism. That is vegetative propagation. In case of an animal, if you cut some part of an animal and if you do it something there, can you create a new organism out of that? No. If I take one of my cell and put it outside, and can I make it into a new organism? No, it's not possible. But in case of plants, this vegetative propagation is possible, that is by the roots, stem or leaves. Example, sugarcane and rose. Here we can see the sugarcane. This is the node, and so see that the sugarcane plant is kept in the soil. From the nodes the new roots come and new plant grows. Okay, this is called a stem cutting. If you cut the stem of the sugarcane into pieces and if you put them in the soil, you will get new plants. Right. So this vegetative propagation is again of two types, children, two types, natural and artificial. Natural and artificial. Vegetative propagation is of two types. Natural means naturally some plants in the wild, they will grow in vegetative propagation method, right? So artificial means some people will do some techniques, mostly in the nurseries, in the gardens, to grow the flower plants and fruit plants, horticulture, right? So they use the techniques of vegetative propagation, that is artificial propagation. For example, here we can see the techniques in this picture. Grafting is one such technique, and cutting is one technique, layering is one technique, tissue culture is one technique. In tissue culture, they will take some tissues of some plants, some cells in a petri dish, in a controlled environment in the lab, they grow the cells into small plantlets. That is tissue culture. Just by taking some tissue, they are able to grow a new plant. That is tissue culture. Okay. So plant cells in a lab. Layering is one technique. You can see the plant is bent like this and it is grown into a new plant. And cutting, by cutting a piece of stem or a root, we can grow. Grafting, see they are attaching the branches of two different plants. Layering, grafting, cutting, all these are the different techniques of vegetative propagation. Why do they follow vegetative propagation? Can't they use the seeds to grow the plant? Because some plants do not produce proper seeds, without seeds. Bananas, do they have seeds? Bananas, do they have seeds? So didn't you get a doubt that if bananas are not having seeds, then how was the first banana tree has come? Can anyone answer? Sir, can you keep quiz, sir, please? Sir, please put video for diagram also. Right. So my question, did you get that? So now the bananas that we are getting, they do not have any seeds. Then how these first bananas came without the seeds? Right. Somebody asked this doubt in some other live session, right, in EduScope live session, another channel's live session, somebody asked this. Definitely I will make a video for diagrams also and question answers also. Definitely I will make a video, live session. Yes. Right, children, without seeds. Okay, we will have grapes and we will have bananas and many other fruits without seeds. So plants, sometimes they lose the capability of producing seeds. Okay, right. So such plants can be easily propagated by vegetative methods, like banana tree can be propagated by vegetative methods. So by vegetative propagation, plants can be produced in large quantity in very less time. That is the advantage. Okay, and so the techniques used are grafting, layering. Bryophyllum. Bryophyllum will have leaf buds. So the bryophyllum is having leaf buds. I am drawing it here. Bryophyllum leaf will be like this and it will have buds on the edges. From here new plants will come. Okay, so that is bryophyllum. So tissue culture, these are all the vegetative propagation techniques. Vegetative propagation is of two types, natural and artificial. Okay, right. So next, spore formation. This is also another method of asexual reproduction. These are the spores. Spores are formed by fungus and bacteria, especially rhizopus. It is bread mold. When bread or some fruits are left outside, they may catch fungus, right? So fungus grows on them. That is called as a mold. So if the bread becomes blue or black because of the mold, if you observe it under microscope, then you will see the picture like this. These are the filaments, thin strands, and over that there are some bag-like or sac-like structures called sporangia. These are the bag-like structures in which there are tiny dot-like, okay, small dot-like structures called as spores, small dust-like structures, spores. Spores are almost like similar to the seeds. So when this sac matures, sporangia, it split and open, it bursts and opens. These spores are carried by wind, by air to different places. So when these spores, they reach the favorable condition, for example, so if these spores, they fall on a bread slice, these spores, they fall on the bread slice, they will grow into mold. So this way, the fungus and bacteria, they spread using the spores. So this is spore formation. Spores are stored in sporangia, tiny sacs. They are protected by thick walls until suitable conditions are available. When the spores are outside the environment, they do not get damaged. They have a thick covering to protect it. When it reaches the favorable condition means right temperature, right humidity, water, temperature, everything is favorable, then the spore becomes into fungus, right? So we don't know in the dust around us, we don't know how many bacterial spores are there, fungal spores are there. So there might be some spores on your hands even, right children? So when these spores, they receive that, when they get that favorable conditions, they grow, right? So someone is telling thank you, you're most welcome. So sir, upload this video later please, definitely, parthenogenesis. So hyphae, yes, hyphae, very good. The filamentous structures are called as hyphae. So what is the difference between spore and pollen? Pollen is different. Pollen is produced by the male reproductive part of a plant, that is anther, right? Anther produces pollen grain. It contains male cells. Spore is different, right? Spore is produced by fungus. It is ready to germinate. It's almost like a seed. Pollen means it is only male cells. That is the difference, right children? Okay. So any doubts, you can ask the questions in the chat box. If it is not related to the lesson, then I will be continuing this lesson, but definitely I will answer your doubts. Okay, whatever doubts you are posting, definitely I will answer in the live sessions. Okay. So spores grow into new individuals. All these methods, fission, budding, spores, all these are asexual reproduction. So once again, just let us look back. Whatever we have seen: spore formation, vegetative propagation, budding, regeneration, fragmentation, fission. So these are all the asexual methods, mode of reproduction used by single organism. So far whatever we have seen is that single organism, only one organism, right? So sexual reproduction means there is a fusion of male and female gamete. And I am giving you a question: for sexual reproduction, 2 organisms are required, only 1 organism is enough? Can anyone answer? For sexual reproduction, 2 organisms are required, 1 organism also can do the sexual reproduction. Saranya, 2 organisms. Rama, 2 organisms. Preeti, 2 organisms required. Fusion of 2 genders, 2, okay. Now I am giving you an example here. Okay. So there is a plant and it is having a flower. Okay. So here the pollen from this anther go to the stigma of the same flower. and fertilization takes place. So is it asexual method or sexual method? How many organisms are involved here? Come on. Yes, how many organisms are involved in this reproduction? One or two? Two organisms. Two organisms. How two organisms? Only one plant this is. Only one flower this is. One organism. That's right. One organism. So whenever you are defining sexual reproduction, don't try to use one organism or two organisms. Say that fusion of male and female gametes. That is the correct way of telling sexual reproduction. Fusion of male gamete and female gamete. Okay. So self-pollination, yes, self-pollination, even though it is sexual reproduction. Even though it is self-pollination, you cannot call it as asexual reproduction. It is sexual, right? Yes, but it contains both male and female, right? So whenever you are asked to tell about sexual reproduction, so it is a kind of reproduction in which fusion of male and female gametes takes place. So is there any problem with my voice? Are you not able to hear my voice? One second, please. So are you able to get it properly now? Is it clear now? Right. So these are all the different methods of asexual reproduction, right? Fission, fragmentation, regeneration, budding, vegetative propagation. So right children, next we are going to see that spore formation. So sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction, I am going to continue this session tomorrow children. It's already 9 o'clock. So tomorrow at exactly at 8 o'clock we will be discussing the second half of this lesson. So don't miss that live. I will be posting it, right? So any doubts you can ask me. And you can tell me also what are the next chapters you are looking for. Right, thank you, you are most welcome. Okay children, we'll meet again tomorrow, right? Thank you, bye.